Welcome back to Impact. We're looking at the state of the Jamaican economy with the Minister of Finance. He has been waxing warm about his achievements so far as Finance Minister. But before the break, Minister, I wanted to hear you on this question. Yes, you are being able to raise money at considerable lower interest rates. With the lowering of interest rates in the economy, clearly you're trying to pump people to borrow money so that they can invest. But people are worried when they read that, listen, Jamaica as a whole is carrying a budget running at what? 130% of GDP, one of the highest in the world and has been so for several years. When do you project we will start to borrow less and earn more?
And that is what it's all about.
Yes.
It's a process. Because you can't just snap your finger overnight and achieve that new equation. But certainly on the road to borrowing less and earning more, you have to start by borrowing cheaper. And these are not my successes alone, by the way. These are the successes of the Jamaican people. When we had the Jamaica debt exchange last year, everybody has been hurting and sacrificed as a part of it, including our pensioners.
Yes.
Okay, because we took a voluntary cut of 5% average on $700 billion of domestic debt. So let's understand that this is not just my achievement, right? All of this, along with the multilaterals, which means borrowing cheaper, because on the road to providing the framework for growth is you must reduce interest rates. And in reducing interest rates, you are not just creating a benefit on the fiscal accounts in terms of your cost of debt servicing. You are creating the space to allow for liquidity to enter the system and therefore money to begin to chase projects in the productive sector, because that is the basis for earning. And so I mentioned when you broke a while ago that the Bank of Jamaica benchmark repo rates now and 30-day operations is 6.75%. It's the lowest on record in the history of the Bank of Jamaica. And while we're on the macroeconomic variables, let me just indicate that our net international reserves are at a healthy almost $2.3 billion at this time, U.S. Gross into foreign exchange reserves in the system are now $3.37 billion US. It is the largest amount of foreign exchange that we have ever had recorded at the Bank of Jamaica. Now, it means that we have money not just to finance imports of oil and food and so on, but we have foreign exchange to finance new investment. So anybody who needs foreign exchange, there's no need to go into a black market to get foreign exchange or anything, because we have foreign exchange that's available within the context of a stable exchange rate. Against this background then, and the fact that inflation has moderated, in January, incidentally, we had a negative inflation rate of minus 0.2%.
So you're going to make your...
That's the first time in a long time you've ever had a negative inflation.
So are you going to make your annual inflation target of 6 to 8%?
We will make our annual inflation target.
What about the deficit target of 0.5 to 1% growth?
No, the deficit target was about 6.5%.
6.5,
and we are going to make that deficit target.
Yes, you're going to make that deficit.
We will make the deficit target as well.
6.5%, down from 10.9.
Yes.
What about the
almost
GDP
11%.
target, the growth target of
the
0.5
The growth target has been affected, as you know, because of the tropical storm Nicole. It also was affected by the incident in Western Kingston. Happily, we are pleased to note that the PIOJ has indicated that in this quarter, this last quarter of the fiscal year, we expect some growth. It is being driven by a pretty good growth in tourism as well as domestic agriculture. There are good signs emerging for the construction sector as well.
What about mining?
Now, we are expecting, and mining, of course, we are seeing now where the minister has announced that Windalco is looking to reopen this year. We have seen where Yorton has reopened, and they don't want to take tails out of school, but Alpart is looking good going into the future as well. So once
meaning they're likely to reopen.
There's a very good possibility. So that it means that once those two remaining factories open up, then it's going to be a good fillip. Now, equally, however,
what about the Jamaica burden you've been carrying? You're going to be able to sell that?
Well, that is a burden we are now actively negotiating. As a matter of fact, the cap burden would be like the Air Jamaica burden last year. The Prime Minister himself, along with the Minister, are driving this. We have a special person is actually on it, negotiating daily with a potential purchaser.
Are you going to be in a position to clinch a deal before budget?
Clinch a deal before I speak in the budget debate, yes.
Right. There's a question, Minister, that people are saying, okay, I hear Audley, the macro looking good.
Yes.
But where the tire hits the road
is to get the micro going.
The micro going and job creation.
Yes.
Yes, and one of your mantras on the campaign was job, job, jobs.
Yes, and let me say this to you. That's true, and that remains a mantra. But we had a global crisis. Nobody can deny that. Long before that global crisis, we had a major crisis of our own. We had this collapse of the financial sector because the productive sector collapsed, because we had then a hostile macroeconomic climate. Right now, the poor FinSec inquiry, the people are out there just trying to tell their story. And everybody wants to hear about Manat, Manat, and Manat. When the real story is the story of the collapse of the financial sector, the collapse of people's lives, their equity destroyed, where interest rates average 53% for 10 years. That's the real story. And that's where we can't afford to go back. That's why I treat with this problem of interest rates with such passion. And this is why I am continually in dialogue and demanding of the private commercial banking system that we have to have a commensurate, more aggressive response from them.
Are you making any progress with that?
To bring interest rates down.
Are you making any progress with that? You ordered some study.
Slow, incremental. Some of them are quietly even offering differential interest rates to preferred customers, that sort of thing, which is showing a direction. But I don't want differential interest rates. I want an overall downward trajectory of interest rates and on a more aggressive basis. Part of it, I'm going to be blunt with you. When I'm blunt with you, my commercial banks might be a bit upset with me because I say so publicly, but I will.
Yes.
Because we are in an atmosphere of total transparency. Our commercial banking system here are expecting, even when the economy is not growing, a return of equity in excess of 20%, which is at the high end of global averages and returns for the financial sector, especially banking. When you look at big banks...
Where they are headquartered in Canada, they don't get that.
They're headquartered in Canada, they're earning between 11 and 12% return on equity. And in Jamaica, we want 20%, okay? You look at big banks, HSBC, or Wells Fargo, look at the Barclays, all of them. Their average return on equity is between 9 and 10 and 11%. That's their return on equity. So we have this cultural predisposition towards using high interest rates as the, and of course government paper, as the investment in tone that will keep our return on equity high. We now have to return to core banking. We need bankers to begin to work with the businesses to write good business plans, to respond to needs of the marketplace, to competitive industry, and to produce things and to goods and services and earn our way. That is the path to growth. That is the path to wealth creation.
You have been
and that's where we have to go.
You have been championing this for several months now.
Yes.
And yes, the T-bill rates are at historic lows, but the banks are not moving quickly with you at all. What else can you do?
There are some things I can do, and I'm going to do them. I'm going to do them, okay? Among
Would you care
them,
to share with us?
yes, among them, we're going to look at being able to have loans be more portable. We're going to increase the portability of loans. One of the problems now is that you have a loan here. You want to refinance because somebody is offering you a much more attractive interest rate.
Yes.
The cost of transferring the loan is prohibitive.
Yes.
The stamp duty and registration costs and so on.
So you're going to eliminate
I'm
those?
going to deal with that, okay?
Yes.
Because I'm going to use I don't want to invoke existing legislation which gives the power to the governor of the Bank of Jamaica on the instruction of the minister, actually gives him the power under the Bank of Jamaica Act to set both deposit and lending rates.
Yes.
But it's anti-market and it's not seen as something that is appropriate.
Right.
So I'm not going there. I'm going to use other instruments such as the stamp duty instrument to be able to increase portability of loans. We also will be looking at how to get the commercial paper and corporate bond market more dynamic, and we're looking therefore at transfer tax issues related to that. These are all things that will help to create an atmosphere of competition and will definitely be part of the process of driving down interest rates.
Yes.
So I hope the banks are listening and understanding that whether I have to haul you kicking and screaming or whatever is the process, we are going down with interest rates because, listen, I want to say to people who have the dream to purchase a house and get a mortgage, I want to look at them, and I congratulate GSB that I was with that the other day.
Yes.
They're offering a mortgage of 11.95%, but I'm not happy with that. I'm saying to everybody who wants to take out a mortgage, there's a thing called single-digit interest rates beyond the National Housing Trust, and we are going there. We're going there.
We're talking with the Minister of Finance, Audley. After the break, in the third and final segment with the Minister, his upcoming budget, tax reform, and of course, Manat after the break.